Hey, it's Matthew coming at you with another video. And this video I'm going to show you my new custom build that I made, which is this beauty right here. Now with the camera and the surface it might be a little bit hard to see, but let me bring this a little closer. So here's the case. I'm going to try to go over a quick overview of what it did. Actually, a lot of this was just the building of the case, which I purchased this from tek-innovation. It's a company from California. This guy does excellent work. I think the case, the bare bones case, I think starts at like $55, and then you can customize it as much as you want. Like I got my handle right in the tag, so that's nice. And the bottom, the back and sides have a clear, or it's a mirrored finish, so you can see kind of reflection of the all the other sides of the parts. And see what else do I have going on here. Then I use the fluorescent green for all my accent. And they also sell separately this this piece right here. That is the plexiglass mount for your joystick. So this was it was a semi-simple build. Once you get, the hardest part is actually putting the case together, especially if it's your first one, because I don't know how to explain it, but it's kind of floaty. There are these. The joints actually hold it together. They're called like diamond joints. I don't know. They don't think they have a specific name, but they have a bolt that goes in the top, and then on the sides you got bolted nuts that hold in the four sides and the top and bottom. Then after that, for all the inside parts, I got all that from Focus Attack. All my buttons, all my 30mm Sanwa buttons. You can use Seimitsu, whatever. These are 24s on the side. I use the USB Neutrik connection from A to B. It's kind of like what you'd use in like a printer. So one side's the horizontal USB and the other side's a square. The pass-through comes through reverse, so the square part's actually on the inside. And it's real simple. There's a couple screws you take out, you flip it around. The inlet pretty much goes one way, so once you figure that out, it's not that big of a deal. Then also for the PCB, I have the Akishop PS360 Plus, which goes pretty much across all platforms. Your PS3, I think it goes for PS2, Xbox. Right, I'm not sure right now if it goes for PS4 and the Xbox One. But I think there's supposed to be firmware update for it. And also I got the harnesses from the black cables in here, and that's nice. With the kit you can actually buy harnesses that for this, so it makes it easier to put together for either a 6 or 8 button layout. Well, the harness actually comes with for your face buttons, plus another for your menu buttons wherever you have them set up, and for your joystick. Yeah, I think that's about it. This video is going to be in parts, so my next part is going to be kind of putting it together, a rough idea of how to actually put this case together, and then throwing in the hardware and stuff. And the hardware is pretty standard across any build you want to do. The only other thing I did that when I put this together, I noticed when I was playing with the joystick, after I initially had it together, the nuts for the joystick, they started falling off probably within 20 or so minutes, and it's a little bit of a pain in the butt to take apart. What I decided to do was double nut it. So instead of having just one nut there, I put a second nut on there, and it's been holding. I've been playing on it for about a week or so without a problem. So that was my other solution, was getting some Loctite, which I didn't really want to go that way, but I got fortunate enough that whole thing. I'm a 6'5", 265 person. I'm a pretty big fella, and this, even though it's made out of acrylic, I don't feel any weakness in it. I mean, I'm not going to give it to like Sanford Kelly or anything like that anytime soon, but I don't have a problem with the stability of it. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel weak or anything like that. It's a well-made product, I believe. They also have on this, not to keep flopping around, but on the board itself, it has either for your USB-A/B connection or your RJ45, your Cat5 cable. I believe that's what it is. And for the other connection, that's what allows you to connect to your other non-USB connection. You know, like I think PS2 had a wider connection to it, and I believe the original Xbox had a rounder plug. But that's how you can access all the other older platforms that it supports. And then, like I said, I'm going to go through kind of a rough how to assemble this, and then I'm going to go into a troubleshooting section with some common problems, and a problem I ran into that I didn't think was possible, but it is, and I'll show you through that. So enjoy the next part, and then I'll come back, and then I'll show you the troubleshooting section. Okay, so here are the parts that I'm going to be using for this build today. A lot of the parts that you see on the table here are for the case, which was provided by tek-innovations, and I'll leave a link down at the bottom of the screen. But you can get a standard case. I think it starts right around $55 in either the 6 or the 8 button layout, or you can actually get a hitbox layout, and a couple different button configuration as well. The guy does amazing work, but he also offers different colors. In this case, this is the transparent green, but he's got a whole list of other colors that would go onto this case. In this case, I got I'm gonna go with a mirrored finish. Any case that you have would work. So after you get the case involved, you need what's going to control it, which would be your PCB. And Akishop makes a very nice product. It is this PS360. This is actually the Plus version. There is a non-Plus, but if you look, there's this terminal strip right here that allows you to not have to solder anything. So if you're not good at soldering or you can't do it at all, this will be a good way to go. There are solder connections for it if you feel like going that route, but I am not. So that's the way I'm going to go. And if you look, it's got 2 connections, one being a USB connection, and the other one is an RJ485, I believe, or Cat5 cable. Either one of those would work, but I'm going to go with the USB connection. For me, it's easier than have to modify a Cat5 cable. It's the A to B connection, so it would look something like this. You got a square on one side and the regular horizontal on the other side, which this is going to plug directly into here, like so. And the other end, I'm actually going to plug into this Neutrik A to B connection pass through. It makes it super simple because the goes right from the PCB right to the back here with your horizontal one, and then you have to get another cable and then plug this in, and this one would go from your controller to your system of choice. Now when you get this pass through, it's going to be actually flipped around. So there's these 2 screws here and here. Take them out, it flips around. That way it fits nice into your case, which this is going to be my front panel. So like I said, it's clear, so it's going to be hard to see, but it's just going to slide right into place. And there's 2 screws. So you can either have that route, or you can have just a cutout for the cord. Either way is fine. All the internal parts came from Focus Attack. They're excellent on their service, pricing. So when I got that, I also got these different set of harnesses. In the kit comes with for your joystick, which this would be, it works for either for Seimitsu or Sanwa, and I'll go over a little bit later about the connection. There's also this set of 3. More likely it's going to be used for your back, start, and home, or start and guide and whatever the PS controls are. And if you notice, there are 3 sets on this one. There's 3 sets of quick connects, but if you look at the other end, there's 4 wires. One of them is going to be your ground, and the other one is going to go to each of the color-coded quick connects. Since these are all commonly ground within this cable, all you got to do is find a ground, and then you connect your corresponding signal wire, and you're good to go. The same way for your face buttons. There's 4 sets of 2 on this one, and 4 sets of 2. And the same thing, there's 4 sets of 2, but if you look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wires down here. In the same way, you got 1 common, and then the rest of them go to your signal wires. The only one bad thing I have, usually your ground is going to be black, but in this case it's not. So you kind of have to look at what's the odd one. So you got in this case you got a blue, a purple, a green, and a tan. So you look at whatever one is the oddball, which in this case is going to be your red wire. So your red wire is going to be ground in here. If you mount it with the pins facing away from the buttons, it's going to be ground. Away from your buttons, it's going to go from ground is your top one, then it's going to go right, left, then up, then down. So down's going to be your bottom one, your ground's going to be up top, left, right, up, down. It's how it's going to be set up. I previously made one from scratch before, which is like this, and I found out a couple things. One, I'm terrible with woodworking, and also I'm bad at soldering as well. But so this is made to a hitbox, and it works just fine on the 360. So I'll open this up and I'll show you what a mess this looks like. That is a jumble of wires. They I mean, it all works, and it's connected to I actually have a Mad Catz PCB, and I have that down there where everything's soldered and hot glued, and I mean it works, but it's a mess. And then all of them are daisy chained, which means that the ground goes from here to this button to this button. I think then it goes to here, 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 here. So they all have a common ground, and then I use a signal wire to solder onto the corresponding spot on the PCB. Like I said, it's a super mess. It works, but if you get a loose connection, this is a pain to try to troubleshoot. So that's why I wanted to go with this solderless PCB, because it should make it a lot simpler. You know, if you want to go to Akishop's site, you can get a printout of your paperwork and all the solder points, and it goes through how to hook up LEDs and wire connections with harnesses, all that good stuff, and for your different consoles and stuff like that. So definitely worth checking out. Also, another side note, that if you decide to go with an optical drive, this PCB is perfect for that, because it already has the connection for your 5-volt that you need to power the optical drive. And if you look on one of the last pages, it does tell you gives you the diagram, and everything's labeled. I think it's labeled VCC. So it makes it easier. You don't have to split the USB cable or anything like that. It's pretty simple. And also gives you a diagram of 1P equals square or X depending on what console you're using. 2P triangle or Y. It goes through all 8 buttons with your back and select and start and home and guide buttons. Also, if you only want to use 2 buttons like I'm doing, you can hold the select and start, and they'll act as your guide button. So you don't need a 3rd button, but obviously everything's up to you. You can do whatever you want. Instead of just being one ground location, there are let's see, 1, 2, 3, at least 4 that I can see immediately. Maybe 5. I might have missed one, and it's very helpful for when you're hooking up. You don't have to have all the ground smushed into one. Okay, I got everything hooked up, ready for wiring. Now, I just found out that this Neutrik's cable for your USB, if you can, try to hook it up before you get everything in place, because the screw to get in here is super tight. Okay, so we're done building this now, and I'm gonna go through on your computer how you can easily test it and make sure all your buttons function, all your directions function correctly. So if you look on your control panel, you got this is what it is, your PS360 Plus. In this case, it's version 1.2. So you right click on this, go to game controller setting. There it pops up again. You can go to advanced. You go to properties, and then this little dialog box will pop up. Down here is you got your directional input. So you got your up, your right, your down, your left, and all your corners up forward, down back, up back. And you can see how they all respond, and you can actually hear them click, and that way you can make sure all your directions are working properly. And then it's good just to test different combinations, just to make sure something funky doesn't happen. Some of the problems you might have is if you hold left and right shows up. Well, then that's you wired your buttons incorrectly. When the harness was put together, you misread, and all you got to do is switch those 2 wires, and left becomes left and right becomes right. That's if 2 of them are switched. If you only get one button, the one direction to show up, if only down shows up and nothing else works, more likely you got your ground in your wrong spot. You have the direction that works as your ground, and your ground as your direction that works. So when you actually push down, that's the only one that completes your ground and your signal wire. So if you switch those 2, you should get all 4 of them back to working. So if 3 directions work and a 4th doesn't work, or 2 work and another one doesn't work, there's a chance that 1 or 2 or 3, depending on how many you have, wires are loose. In that case, you just gotta go in there and tighten them up and make sure you do a little tug test. You put it in and you give it a little pull to make sure that it doesn't come out. If it doesn't come out and it's good, you should be able to come back in here. If none of them work, there again, you probably have a ground issue. Check your ground connection. And maybe that came out, or it's loose, or you could possibly have it in the wrong spot. But just check that if it's wired up correctly. All of them should work. Same way for your attack buttons. Both directions and your attack buttons are kind of handled the same way. You got a ground, you got a signal. If you got your ground connected and your signal connected to the right spots, they should work. What else? If nothing works, then it might be an issue with your cable. The only other issue I found, and this sounds very odd, and I know it does, and I didn't want to believe it until I tested it out. I bought a 15-foot cord. Now, when I plug that into either a PS3 or an older version of an Xbox, it would work. You know, it would work no problem. I plug it in, and it was fine. So I had plenty of cable, and it worked on the systems I needed to. Well, that was fine. I have an Xbox Slim set up over here, and I'd plug it in, and I wouldn't get anything. Nothing would work. Then I tried to reboot the system. I tried to hold the second punch or triangle or Y, depending on what system you have, then plug it in, nothing. So I figured it was something wrong with the board itself. And apparently in this case, the Xbox Slim is particular on your cord length. If it's too long, I guess it doesn't have enough power for it. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but whenever I plug in the 15-foot cable, and all my connections were solid, there wasn't anything loose to it, I would only get the LEDs on the board itself to light up, and then it would quickly go away, and then I wouldn't have any functions. There's nothing that functions. You know, discussing this with the tech guy, he suggests going to a shorter cable. And I'm thinking, that can't have anything to do with why would a 15-foot cable not work, but a 6-foot cable works. Like I said, the only thing I can think of is if it's not getting enough power to it or too much, I can't really tell you. But I put in a 6-foot cable, and now it works just fine. I didn't think that the shorter cable would make a difference, but apparently it does. So with that, I think that pretty much wraps up everything I have to say about this. This is my build, and if you have any questions, and you know, feel free to email me. I'll try to write back as quick as I can. So that's my build, and